Are you curious about bodies, pleasure, and possibilities? And what about curious about what others are up to on the planet when it comes to pleasure, sex, and play? Have you considered what pleasure can do for your life, your body, and your bank account? Do you know something magical, delightful, and out of this world orgasmic is not only possible for you, but totally available to you? If you're ready to be the magical, sexual, sexy beast you know you can be, and you just need the tools to get there, you're in the right place. Now, here's the host of The Pleasure Zone, sensual movement artist, relationship and sex alchemist, Milica Jelenic.
Well, hello, sweet pleasure seekers. You're actually joining me tonight. I feel it. I can feel like lots of people coming in on this call because everybody's like, what? She's talking about COVID-19 and masturbation? That's crazy. We got to know more. I can feel it. I can feel that was like the question in so many people's universes. It's like, are we allowed to masturbate? What are we allowed to do? I'm here to talk to you guys about that because I know it's a burning question in all of your loins and all of your minds and your loins at the same time. It's a beautiful thing. So we are going to be diving deep into this topic because that's what we do. Some people, when they're masturbating, they dive deep too. And that's just how it rocks. So we will talk about different kinds of things, sex-wise, that are going to work for you to do with yourself or to not do with yourself. All good things to be aware of. And why are we here? Well, you guys happened upon this show. Maybe it was out of boredom because if you're listening to this currently and you're listening to the live show, you're actually listening to this on March 30th of 2020 when we are in an interesting pandemic around the world and most people are being locked down in their own homes. We're all being asked to be quarantined. And what do you do during quarantine? If you're a couple, maybe you're having sex 24/7. And I was just thinking about this the other day. In Canada, we are so incredibly lucky that our government is going to be offering financial subsidies to people who have been not able to work in different fields. And even as self-employed people, we're being offered subsidies financially to be able to get up to $2,000 a month. And I'm thinking, if we're all at home having sex and we're all at home masturbating, the government's actually paying us to be prostitutes. And yet they have this argument going on in politics about prostitution. Do they legalize it or not? But they're actually going to be paying us to be doing it, guys. So I'm thinking they don't even realize what's happening, right? So then I thought about it a little more, and I thought, well, anybody who's actually getting government assistance and is at home having sex while they're on government assistance, actually they're also prostitutes who are getting paid for sex too. Well, that's my roundabout interesting thought on that. But my other interesting thought is, what do you do when you're all home? If you're all home by yourself and you're solo, like you're a solo act artist right now. I have a few friends who do totally live alone, and I've fully encouraged them to go out and order as many sex toys from the company I work with as possible. What a great time. You're living alone. Chances are you're not going to have any deliveries coming to the door. Your neighbors, or neighbors too, whatever neighbors are, but your neighbors will completely understand if they hear nonstop vibrators going 24/7. So this is a great time to invest in some really good toys. Now, because things are closing down, if you are going to get some vibrators, I encourage you to get the rechargeable kind. Also, get some underwater ones. We'll talk about why that might be a good idea later as well. And so you can get vibrators of all sorts. And vibrators are not just for ladies, for the guys listening out there. You can use vibrators for yourself, and it doesn't make you gay. Or maybe it does. Doesn't matter. Whatever. Have fun with your vibrator. And what I'm also encouraging you to do is go out and get as much lube as you possibly can. Because if we're going to be stuck at home for a while, and, even if you're in the safe zone and you've been tested for corona and you don't have it, and you're in the safe zone, but you're trying to stay away from other people, maybe now's a really great time for crazy experimentation. So go out and get that lube. Try all the crazy things that you've never tried before. whether it's, sticking things in different holes that you've never stuck things into before. Because you can't. Because guess what? You're home, you're doing things, you might as well have some fun and experimentation while you're doing it. So, though this show is not specifically about how to get it on and have sex with a partner during COVID, I might actually do an entire episode on how to end up having sex even if your whole entire household is around all the time. How do you pull that off without anybody noticing? Or scarring your children for life. That would be good to know too. And so for specifically though, there would be and there are a lot of bits of information out on the internet right now that if you were to just go right now and Google search COVID-19 and masturbation, your mind will be blown about how many articles have already been put out there about this. And that always tickles my fancy, that I always think, well, here's a crazy episode. No way. People are already really having deep discussions about these things. Not just from the perspective of, yes, you're allowed to masturbate. It's not just a question of yes or no, but there are some other reasons and justifications for masturbation at this time. So how fun is that? And some of the reasons and justifications come down to a lot of people are really, really stressed right now. They are having anxiety attacks. They're having different issues especially with being or feeling like with this quarantine that they're alone and they're stuck, and a lot of these different emotions of depression come up. Masturbation is actually one of those things that can get your happy hormones going and have your body feel more relaxed and at ease. Can also, to me, in my point of view, can get your creativity going. Because sometimes it sparks some great fantasies and it just gets you out of, thinking about the doldrum of whatever you're seeing on social media or the news. It can definitely assist you in moving through some of your whatever issues are that are coming up. So masturbation, not just for your genital happiness, but also for your mental happiness and because you're mental, but also for your psychological happiness, your spiritual evolution, all of these great things. And what I also think is that what a great time to learn different kinds of masturbation. So probably, your whole life, if you've been a masturbator like I have since childhood, you've probably become kind of an expert in a certain form of masturbation. But hell, now you've got time. You can explore options. You're at home, probably having some time. If you do live alone, you've got time to explore all kinds of new different variations of masturbation, whether it's using toys or different techniques. Watching videos are always very helpful. I won't call them porn, but maybe if I call them something like erotic educational videos, that's what we'll call them today. If you dive into some erotic educational videos, you might notice that other people have techniques that you've never tested or tried before. And that could be fun. How much fun can you have? Right now, I bet you, and I don't know for sure, but I bet you there's a massive rise in porn watching right now. Why not use it for educational purposes as well as, the source for helping you get off? But I think for educational purposes, you can learn a lot of new and interesting techniques. So that's just a little piece of strange side information that I was thinking about as well. And a few other things that, like I was mentioning with education. So videos are great for that, but there are a lot of great sites out there too. There are a lot of different outlets like blogs and like my show and 260 or more other episodes you can listen to in the podcast form. One of them is actually a guided, I think I actually called it a guided masturbation, and that was one of my first episodes that I did. So that was over 5 years ago, and it was really about getting in tune with your body using all of your senses. So developing like a sense of intimacy with yourself. And having a sense of intimacy with yourself is going to give you even far more than just the getting off sensation, which a lot of times people go to masturbation as a tool because they're feeling pent up or aggravated and they need to get the energy shifted, and they don't really think of it as a self, necessarily like a self-development tool, and it totally can be. So think about all the ways you can develop yourself through masturbation. I know there's many, and I know that with that one particular episode called Fun for One, if you can look that up on Inspired Choices Network, you can find the episode Fun for One, and you'll be able to enjoy that guided masturbation that I led everybody through on that show. And it's quite a great source for just knowing and being in touch with your body, becoming more of in a relationship with your body rather than just having your kind of go-to that you do. So it's kind of more of a, call it like an enlightened way of engaging with yourself. So I know that with COVID, there are a lot of things that people are concerned about germ-wise, and a lot of things people are saying are, if you touch your face, wash your hands, wash your hands before you touch your face, wash your hands if you've touched your face. And the big question is, why is it any different if you're touching your genitals? Why are they saying that you can touch your genitals but not touch your nose and your eyes and your face? Well, the funny thing is just kind of like a lot of other colds, it's very rare, although it does happen, you can get staph and strep infections in your genitals. It's very rare that you'll get like a cold in your crotch. You might pass on some bacteria there, but generally you're not going to get a cold in your crotch. So a lot of these symptoms and things are very much based on sort of cold symptoms. So your chances of getting a cold in your crotch are pretty slim. Although, here's a thought. Here's an example. If you were out and about doing your regular grocery shopping and you weren't wearing your rubber gloves, your ski mask, your other face mask for germs, your balaclava, your big fuzzy boots, and your chastity belt. If you weren't wearing all of those and you went out and you came back in your house and you didn't feel safe and protected, and you, for example, touched yourself with your dirty gloves, then you would probably, have a chance of sending germs to yourself, right? So if you did go out with all of them, you could still have that stuff on these different materials. But if you went out without all of them and you came home and you touched yourself, you could actually be spreading germs. And if you're really creative, if you're one of those people who likes to use your own spit for your own lube, then the chances are you're putting your hands to your mouth first, then to your crotch. Correct? That's correct. And so you could actually be spreading germs there. And I don't think they've had enough questions, quite frankly, to the people who have had COVID about whether they were masturbating prior to this or what their sex lives are like. I don't think we've had. And now a lot of the ones who are dead, well, they're dead now, so it's really hard to interview them. I could try, but it would be tricky, right? So I think that we're lacking some information. As much as the health officials are saying, yes, go out and masturbate, this is totally safe. I'm wondering, if this is as deadly as everybody's saying it is it really? Is it really that safe? So, first, get your hazmat suit before you go out. Get your hazmat suit, get all of your protective gear, go out, make sure your hands are washed when you come back home, take off the hazmat suit, have a shower. Then, while you're in the shower, then you could be stroking it off. What a great place. You're already getting clean. Make sure you've got some antibacterial soap happening, some regular soap happening. Just make sure that you're actually keeping it clean, keeping your hands clean before you even touch everything. And that could actually be one of your safest, cleanest ways to be masturbating, and nobody would even suspect because, yes, you might be in the shower an extra 20 minutes longer, but hell, isn't everybody taking 20-minute longer showers these days? I think it's just natural. We're all like, hell, we're in the shower. We're never going to get out of here. Whether you're masturbating or not, you're kind of living in the shower for the sake of hygiene or pleasure or whatever else. Maybe it's just to get away from, everybody else in your family. So you're creating your own bathroom quarantine from everybody else. So if you do need to quarantine yourself, perhaps doing it in the bathroom would be a good place to quarantine you so you can have some pleasure. We're actually going to be heading to our first commercial break on this crazy, wacky episode, which is so out to lunch, but I hope that it's inviting you to feel satiated in some way. We are going to be coming back from a commercial break, so you're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today from the U.S., call 815-880-TALK. That's 815-880-8255. From Canada, dial 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Or send your questions or comments via email to info@MilicaJelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, sweet pleasure seekers. Tonight we're talking about COVID-19 and masturbation, a conversation that nobody even knew we were ever going to have. There's some do's and don'ts for this, believe it or not, and some very valid scientific reasoning behind why we should be masturbating. For one, masturbation has been known to actually reduce stress, and when your stress levels are reduced, your immune system increases. So that is one of the great bonuses. You can meditate or masturbate while meditating, either one. There is actually something called oming, which is orgasmic meditation. What a good time to take up that practice. You can find actually videos of that on YouTube, which are super educational and fun. So that's pretty fun. So I'm thinking we actually have a live caller. And how fun is that? It's a live caller that's called in before, and it's always entertaining, and we love having him on. So I welcome Dave to the live.
Hi
Dave.
How are you doing?
How's it going? So I know that you've just come back from the Bahamas.
That's
and
right.
You are currently in isolation.
In
and
self-imposed isolation.
Self-imposed isolation. Yeah, that's cool. Does that self-imposed isolation include, like, right now, are you feeling like this is the greatest time for masturbation, or are you feeling differently about that?
Well, I'm generally, I think most any time is a good time for masturbation. But the people at Loblaws don't agree with me.
Right, yeah, that's a terrible thing that happens. Yeah, I wondered.
Yeah.
Always a good time for masturbation, says Dave. That's good.
Really annoyed the produce manager.
Right, especially if you're getting the stuff messy. Never mind people touching the fruit with, like, COVID. It's like, wow, there goes Dave's sperm all over the place. Lovely. You know, they're like, that's Dave again. Well, let's see. Oh, man. These things aren't flavorful, but really? You know he's a chef, but really, is this how you add flavor? Seriously. So no, guys, you don't actually add flavor by putting your cum on your food. I mean, you can, but is now the time? Is now the time? I'm just wondering, because body fluids, and they're not really sure totally with this virus. They're not really sure exactly all the body fluids that this is carried in. They know that it can be carried in, like when you cough and there's like stuff coming out of your respiratory system. So, for example, if somebody's about to give you a blowjob and they cough on your crotch, could you actually get COVID? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, my understanding is that it's respiratory, so you can. It only affects you if it gets into your mouth or nose, and if it's getting into your mouth, nose while you're masturbating, then damn, you need to share your technique. It's primarily it's like a rhinovirus. You were saying before you cannot get the cold through your crotch. Well, that's because the virus needs the mucous membranes involved in your respiratory system. It can propagate in any mucous membrane, but it can't get to your lungs, which is the only place where it damages you.
Right. So essentially, if you were giving oral sex to a woman and she's got a lot of mucous membranes going on, she could actually be carrying it in her vagina. But
that's what I'm not certain of, because it has to migrate, right? It has to migrate.
Yeah.
I guess it's possible, but I'm sure nobody's done a study on it.
Not yet, right? And I don't know that anybody will. But what I have been reading is that they're actually asking people to even avoid that because they're concerned, because they actually don't have enough information on whether it is safe or not. So they're saying that to be especially careful with contact with saliva or mucus of any kind. So it's kind of an interesting thing. And in the chat room, your lover is saying no, and I'm saying it's between you guys. It's your choice, but that's not. If
you're quartered with somebody, the assumption is that you are both sharing whatever fluids you have between you, just from casual contact. So it's, if you are comfortable being isolated with somebody, you should be comfortable having sex with them.
Hopefully. And hopefully you're really comfortable with giving them like a good half an hour of oral here and there, just because it helps with their stress levels, right? Like, I think that's kind.
Half an hour of oral. Wow.
Or more?
Have you been coached? No.
Have not been coached. I just know from personal experience that is kind.
Did you receive an email? Did you receive an email suggesting this time duration?
No, I didn't. What I do is I actually follow what the body requires, and that is my information that I'm getting right now. It's like my intuition is saying, like, half an hour is it's like lovely, it's kind, it's not about the target of orgasm, it's more about the connection. And it's really about what it also can do, and I don't know if you know this, because you might not have heard this episode, but actually eating a woman out, she's got like healthy microbiomes in her vajayjay. I don't know if you know this, but they can actually improve your microbiome system in your body, so it could actually improve your health if it's healthy. Like if she's got a healthy vajayjay, then you're all good. But if she's got like, funk going on, then not such a good idea. But I encourage everybody and anybody, men and women, give women some oral sex right now to get your microbiome strengthened. I think that is probably my best advice right now that I can share with everybody.
If I could add anything to that, it would be, don't try to do it in the produce section at Loblaws.
Right. I'm really grateful that you keep reiterating that, because this has obviously been kind of an issue for you. So at any other grocery store, though, that's okay. Sobeys, you're fine. Just not at Loblaws, because they're a little strict.
Yeah, Weston is a really uptight company.
Yeah, it's weird like that. So, in terms of like what other things you could be doing for fun during this time, if you're a solo act, for example, if you're all on your own right now in the world, I know I was mentioning earlier, like, for people to be able to go out and, grab some information, maybe watch some erotic educational videos or, read some blogs online or listen to some of my shows. But are there any things that you could think of, Dave, that would be contributions to people who are all alone that don't have a playmate right now that can help them to get off maybe in a new and different way?
Well,
that could involve produce. It's okay if it involves produce too.
Oh, I see. I was just I thought I could just add some background information as to the benefits.
Oh, awesome! Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the first benefit is you're not interacting with another person. So, just by virtue of that, you are minimizing your exposure to the virus.
Exactly.
But there's a couple of medical benefits to it as well, right? I know there's been studies on it, but one of the things I'm aware of, have been aware of, is that for a period of time, like 45 minutes after orgasm, whether it's sexually induced or induced through masturbation, your white blood cell count goes up significantly.
Yes, it does.
So if you have to venture out for a half an hour, it's probably a good prophylactic measure to rub one out quickly. Raise your white blood cell count and make sure you're back home in 45 minutes. Yeah.
So if you're masturbating like every hour, you're actually going to probably maintain your high white blood cell count if there's a sort of time frame on that. I didn't realize there was actually a time frame. I knew that it did raise your white blood cells, but I'm thinking masturbate every hour.
And then you only have 15 minutes to worry about.
Right. Yeah. And you should be, and probably the more you've done it, the more you've built your immune system. So you're going to be able to maintain that. It's going to create like homeostasis in your body.
But then you might have to start being concerned about chafing.
So this is where I mentioned earlier to go out and get lots of lube, right? So that's, important. And I did mention, like, a lot of people do use their own spit, and if you do have something respiratory, even though it is like a rhinovirus, it could be carried probably only through your nose and mouth. You don't want it to be hibernating in your crotch either, just like sitting there as something that when you go back to touch it, reinfecting yourself. So getting some lube, I think, is a great idea. And you want water-based lube, guys, because water-based lube is just easier if you've got toys going on. Right? Like you don't want to degrade your toys in a time like this, and you have to go out and buy new ones. So if you're using like silicone-based lubes with silicone toys, you can actually break your toys apart. You don't want to waste your money on that. You want to use some water-based lubes, but if you're stroking it out on your own with no toys, silicone-based lube's a good one to go with. Has a little longer lasting effect. So definitely invest in lube. Can't believe people haven't rushed that off the shelves. Like, why are there still lube on the shelves?
I'm somewhat old school where this is regarding, and I think if you have to go to external lubes, you're an amateur.
But if you're going to be masturbating every hour, like you said, you're concerned about chafing. So I'm just giving you some lowdown on how not to chafe.
Okay. Well, thank you.
That's all. It's just for, like, extended use. That's all. And there is an awful lot of lube still left on those shelves because that's the one thing that I've been checking out. I mean, you might have hand sanitizers that are flying off the shelves and toilet paper, but hello, people, you're going to need lubes and you're going to need some toys, more toys for sure. So definitely connect with me. That's just silly that people aren't buying more and more and more of them. Even though reports are saying that, did you know, like, the sex toy industry sales has like tripled in the last few weeks?
Really?
Amazing. Yes. Well, a lot of them are made in China, and I think they're worried that they're not going to have any more left soon. So
you should consider telling people what household items would be safe if they can't leave the house.
Yes.
What
so
do you
I'm
have
actually thinking about DIY toys. for a while, even before this, I was thinking about DIY toys. So I have a few lists, and I might actually make that. That's a great idea. Thanks, Dave.
Or
DIY
lubes.
Yeah.
DIY lube.
DIY lube. So there are a lot of DIY lubes out there.
Butter.
Yeah. But they can also do. Also, you don't want coconut oil as a woman. You don't want to put any food substances in your crotch. But it's cool for men. Coconut oil. Men can do a lot of external lubes, but as women, you don't want food substances in your crotch. So for the women, there's other things you can have to use that are not food related, like olive oils and coconut oils and things, because that can just create infections, and you can't get into a hospital now. So what are you going to do? You're just going to be having a crotch rot issue. That's not fun.
Really? So you can't lube a pussy with coconut oil?
You really shouldn't. You really, really shouldn't.
Well, I've learned something.
See? Yeah.
I thought coconut oil is good all over your body.
Not for women in their crotch. No. You can put it on your legs, your thighs, but no, not in your crotch. So yeah,
so like mineral oil.
You could, I suppose, use mineral oil, but a lot of things change the pH balance of the vagina, and that's when you get issues. It's a pretty delicate balance going on in there. So you want things that are matching the correct pH so that your body can maintain itself.
Well, thank you for that information.
You're welcome. Learning something new every day. Like you were teaching me stuff, I'm teaching you stuff, and that's what we're here for. Here on the Pleasure Zone, learning about stuff today, learning about the do's and don'ts. We're learning so much. We're actually going to head to a commercial break. So you are listening to the Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Interested in masturbating for money, copulating for consciousness, and pleasuring on purpose? 21 Days of Sexual Magicism with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic is an exploration of tools, processes, and actions that you can use to create more for your life, your body, your money inflows, and so much more. Graduated learning for all levels of interest. Learn at your own pace via video classes or join the yearly live class. Take a peek at www.milicajelenic.com.
This is the Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today from the U.S., call 815-880-TALK. That's 815-880-8255. From Canada, dial 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Or send your questions or comments via email to info@MilicaJelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, sweet pleasure seekers. Tonight we're talking about masturbation in this time of a pandemic. Who's thinking about that? Most people are thinking about, I gotta go get my hand sanitizer so that I can masturbate. Oh crap, they're out of hand sanitizer. Actually, I've never really thought about getting hand sanitizer before I masturbate. Although, I am pretty keen on washing my hands beforehand because, I don't know, I grew up in a family with a grandfather who was a doctor. I grew up with all these medical experts in my family, and I saw way too many different medical textbooks growing up because I was fascinated by them. and I saw diseases that were just horrifying, and it always made me think, gotta keep clean, gotta keep your hands clean. And I've been, stroking it out since I was little, so I was pretty aware of the necessity to keep my hands clean even then. And it's something that I encourage, that if you are going to masturbate, definitely it is imperative that you wash your hands beforehand, even if you've been at home and you haven't been around people. You could still be a carrier or whatever, and the less that you spread it anywhere, the better. So keeping it as much contained as possible. So definitely washing your hands. What is the daily recommend or the health recommend that's been put out by some of the different articles online by different health organizations is that they recommend that you're washing your hands for at least 20 seconds in warm soapy water, and also remembering to wash your toys. Now, for some of you out there who are using toys for masturbation, you might be washing them with hand soap. That would be a no-no, because different soaps are made for different occasions. For example, you don't generally wash your dishes with shampoo. Different soaps for different purposes. You generally don't wash your hair with palmolive. So, again, you don't wash your toys, your sex toys, with hand soap. There are cleaning substances that you can use for your toys, and they're specifically made to kill any kind of bacteria or infections that might be on the toys. So they're designed specifically to keep your toys healthy and clean for you. And definitely spray them. The sprays that are out there generally are ones that you spray on your toys and you leave for a few minutes so that it can take action and do its thing by cleaning off anything that's going on there. And you can also, if you have toys that are glass or metal, you can also spray them with hydrogen peroxide, and that'll kill quite a few things off of it as well. So keeping, again, your toys as clean as possible, because some toys, like the metal toys, would actually hold things like viruses longer. So, for example, if you have a metal vibrator, you can't get metal vibrators, but usually it's a metal dildo or a glass dildo. But we're going to go with the metal dildo because they're talking more about how the virus can stay on metals for several hours at a time. You want to make sure that your toys that are made out of metal are being completely sterilized before using them, and that your partner has clean hands. If they're going to be masturbating you with a toy, make sure their hands are clean. Or if they've rummaged through your things and you didn't know about it, they touch your metal vibrator, and then you touch your metal vibrator, like within the time frame where that virus can still be active, you're in a hot zone. So as much as you might put it in your vagina or be playing with it in different ways, and your vagina doesn't catch the COVID, it's that your hands touching the toy could actually contract that, and then, maybe touch your mouth or something else, and, lick your finger. Who knows? You could be getting all kinds of naughty going on. So you could technically pass it on through things like that. Yes, my mind goes to those crazy areas of the what ifs. What if you did this? What if you did that? What if you had this toy or that toy? And so it's being more thought involved in this. Awareness, I guess, is a better word for it. So, for example, if you are a person who even has things like toys that are metal whips, or you've got handcuffs if you're into some BDSM, and you've got toys that are more metal-based toys, or different materials that are holding onto the virus longer than other things, then you'll definitely want to sterilize all of your toys. And you can use that with toy cleaners. Again, you can spray them with things like hydrogen peroxide. You can also leave them and not touch them for a few days as well. That can usually assist that too. And there's a big recommendation going on right now from sex experts and health experts in the world that if you are going to be engaging with any kind of masturbation, whether it's on your own solo or if you're doing mutual masturbation, definitely the hands clean. If you are doing mutual masturbation, we are looking at the consideration of doing it with somebody that you're already in isolation with, because the chances are that you are going to be around the same germs. And if you are actually going to be doing this, it's still recommended that you keep a safe distance. So finding new and interesting positions that you can masturbate each other from can be a lot of fun. Now, one of my very favorite positions of all time is actually doggy style. So when this all came out about social distancing and how far apart you should be in the different positions of safety for lovers, I had to draw some pictures for my husband so that he could have some ideas. And he had a good giggle. He thought I'd make a little booklet out of my COVID-19 sex positions. One of them was actually inspired by something that a friend of mine had sent me, and I had a good laugh. And then I came up with a whole lot of other ones too. So the doggy style position actually, though, is a great one for if you are trying to avoid like having your faces at each other, like in front of each other, so that you're not coughing into each other's mouths and noses. It's a great position to be in, so that as the person that's in the dog position, downward doggy position, bent over, can actually lean through, like between their legs, and stroke their partner's genitals, and the other partner can swing their arm through and stroke your genitals. So it's kind of a nice way to be able to stroke each other without having to have each other's faces right in each other's faces. Out of fun, I was experimenting on different positions just for the sake of it last night. Some of them get very awkward, and some of them just make you laugh because you're like, hey, what kind of other awkward position can I do that would have my face be away from your face this distance? It helps that my husband and I are both very tall. I'm like almost 6 feet tall, and my husband is over 6 feet tall. So our torsos, if our torsos are in opposite directions, we are 6 feet apart. So we're in the safe zone. If you're smaller, if you're shorter, I don't know what you guys are going to do. You're going to have to get more creative. Definitely. In times of when masturbation is being promoted by cities, it's like, what a happy season of love to me this is. It's interesting to see that it's actually being put out for a lot of different cities. It's being put out as like a survival tool. They're encouraging people, if you're home, do this. It's going to help with your stress levels. It will help with some stress levels, and though it can increase stress for some people as well. So for the people who have a fear of being caught, this could actually create a tremendous amount of anxiety for them. And I want to speak to that for a moment, because I know there are people out there who are, chronic strokers, and they usually are, waiting for the moment for their spouse or whoever's in their house, their children, to leave so that they have, their 10, 20 minutes to themselves to just have their meditation, masturbation session going on. And in times like these, when they're absolutely quarantined with their families, and some places where their families, like a friend of mine is in India, and she is living with her parents, and then her brother got sent back from a job. So her whole life has completely turned upside down. And she's like, oh my God, I have so much sexual energy and I don't know what to do with it, because what am I going to do? My family's everywhere. And I get that. So for some of you who literally feel like, I cannot masturbate because I'm going to get caught, and it's just mortifying to think about that, definitely contact me. We can talk through that. We can discuss some alternatives for you. Although I think one of the very safest places where most people will leave you be if you have a lock on your bathroom is to just spend some time with yourself and your body in the shower. If you don't have a shower, if you're in a country where, showers are scarce and you just have a bath, even being in the bath by yourself, if you can turn on music to get some privacy, and some sound privacy is helpful. So And if people are like, why are you playing music? It's just that I need space in my own head. And I think in times like these, most people understand that you just need space in your own head and they don't need to probe you for questions or try and probe you at all. So, yeah, that's just my thought on that one. How can you actually masturbate when you're feeling like your entire household is like looming on top of you? So being aware of that and like, not necessarily stepping outside of your total comfort zone so that you feel humiliated, because then what, you're going to be stuck in a home with people for weeks and the whole time you can't even look at them or yourself in the mirror because you're so embarrassed. No, that's not going to work. So again, you can talk to me about it. You can wake up early, masturbate when they're not awake. You can go to bed later, masturbate when they are asleep, do it in the shower. Those are some ideas. For some countries right now where people are still allowed to go out and do grocery shopping, I think, and I don't know for sure because I haven't actually gone for a drive in like 2 weeks, I'm pretty sure that in my area there are going to be people driving down the road. And we had somebody stop in front of our house really randomly last week. I swear there are people just dropping off because we live in the middle of nowhere. I swear people are just driving going, here's a good place to whack off, stopping, and until you go out and you kind of look and you're like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh my God, caught with their hand in their pants, driving away. I think we're going to find more and more people just masturbating on the sides of roads in the next little while. That's just my thought on that. But there's a few other things coming up that I'd like to talk about. So we've got our last commercial break to go to. So you're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Interested in masturbating for money, copulating for consciousness, and pleasuring on purpose? 21 Days of Sexual Magicism with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic is an exploration of tools, processes, and actions that you can use to create more for your life, your body, your money inflows, and so much more. Graduated learning for all levels of interest. Learn at your own pace via video classes or join the yearly live class. Take a peek at www.milicajelenic.com.
This is The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today from the U.S., call 815-880-TALK. That's 815-880-8255. From Canada, dial 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Or send your questions or comments via email to info@milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Hello, sweet pleasure seekers. Welcome back to the Pleasure Zone. And tonight we're talking about COVID-19 and masturbation. There's going to be a lot of myths and a lot of myth busting going on right now about these things and about a lot of things that have to do with COVID. So right now, the information around what is safe, what isn't safe, is truly we don't know. But truly, what my thoughts on this is if I'm going to die, I want to die with a smile on my face and maybe a penis in my mouth, or I don't know, that sounds pretty fun to me. So I'm thinking I'm pretty much going to, it's not that I'm going to be ignorant of it. I know that one of the recommendations too is that if you are going to be having sex, have it with the people you live with, because, and I'm saying adults, consensual sex, that's what I'm going with, because as I said that, I realized how many crazy child molesters out there are probably going, oh, she said it, and no, I didn't say that. So what I'm saying is consensual adult sex. All right. So, yes, not with your children or your, nieces and nephews. No. All right, cool. Now we're clear. So again, consensual adult sex. And that would include anybody 16 and over that's consenting in my eyes. So what I encourage you to do is be with the ones you love. How much more convenient is it if you're going to actually be in isolation, to be isolated with somebody whose body you enjoy, that you can have lots of fun playtime with? What a great way to burn off calories, too, and increase blood flow and all sorts of great things. It's such a great source of getting healthier for sure. So, we did talk, when we were talking with Dave, the caller earlier, he was mentioning about the white blood cell counts rising. Now, there are some studies that were done on that. There aren't a lot of conclusive studies, but what a fun thought to say that, it does raise white blood cells. One of the main studies that was done was actually only done with 11 men in it. So we don't have a lot of background for these things yet, because these are things that people haven't truly studied. Maybe in the future we're going to have people who are doing cross studies between human sexuality and different other health benefits other than, reducing anxieties and stresses. Although, like I was mentioning earlier, it could raise anxiety for some people in situations where they're feeling really afraid that they might get caught. And that can actually be more stressful for people than just holding off on the masturbation altogether and finding other sources. So for people who are feeling that kind of intensity of possible humiliation coming on, you have a lot of creative energy, and that's really what your sex drive is coming in as. So much of the time is actually a creative energy. If you are unable to masturbate right now because of your circumstances and your home environment, what creative outlets can you use to utilize this energy so that you aren't drowning in it? And it can feel exhausting sometimes if you're drowning in so much energy. It's like an overburden of creative energy. So utilize it, whether that's reorganizing your home, baking food, doing some art, finding something to build. There are so many outlets right now, things that you can be choosing. If masturbation is not something that you can be doing, you can find other outlets for your creative energies to rock and roll. And there's also a lot of other things that you can be doing with that energy too. If you're like, creativity, that's not fun. Well, another way to expand that energy is to actually expand it more and more and to contribute it to the earth. Now, here's a curious thought as the show is wrapping up tonight is, what if we sent orgasmic energy to the coronavirus? Like, what would that be like? Right now, on the planet, there's a lot of hate going at that virus, and everything has a consciousness and receives information through its energetic components. So it's got, different cells that contain energy, and it receives information through those cells. So what if we actually send, if you are masturbating, send all kinds of orgasms to COVID? Why not? Check if that feels true and fun. And if that doesn't feel fun, just send it to the planet. And if you can't masturbate for it, just know that energy can move through you and to everywhere. I want you guys to just stay tuned in and turned on for the rest of the week. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. The Pleasure Zone returns next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by choosing to be turned on and tuned in to your body.